is begin relating to the portion of the week, which is called Tazria. It's named after the first subject. And then, at the end of this year, I'd like to relate to the matter of eating the proper foods or animals, fish, and not the improper ones, which is the end of last week's portion of the week. We gave an introduction yesterday that we're learning the book of Vayikra, the book of Leviticus. Vayikra really means, and he called out, Hukara. He called out. The third book of the 5 books is unique and special to the Kohanim, to the Leviim, because it deals with a lot of laws of their work and activities in the holiest place on earth. I know it's in the land of Israel, and in Jerusalem it's the Temple Mount. And when we were in the desert, it's called the Mishkan, the tabernacle. Okay? What is it called?
Mishkan.
And what word do we know is inside the Mishkan? We said it yesterday. What's inside the Mishkan? Shechina. Yeah, no. Shechina. The dwelling, the presence of God. I'm your neighbor, Shachen. We talked at length yesterday, the events, when they happen chronologically. And I want to lead to this Parshat Tazria. There is 1 or 2 major subjects at the beginning that we're going to hit and meet it. And then we'll raise some questions, and I would like to provide some depth and understanding. So let's follow the reading, chapter 12, verse 1. Okay? Vayidaber Adonai el Moshe Lemor. Do you see where I'm reading from? Yes? Vayidaber Adonai el Moshe Lemor. And God is speaking to Moshe, saying, where is he speaking, by the way? It's obvious. At Sinai. The Jewish people, about 45 days after their exodus of Egypt, traveled in the desert and reached a desert area called Midbar Sinai, the desert of Sinai. There we parked about 6 days prior to the giving of the Torah. The Hebrew date of the giving of the Torah, meaning the revelation before millions of people at the foot of Sinai, men, women, and children, was what we practice today, the holiday called Shavuot. Shavuot, which means what? What is it? Weeks, excellent. How many weeks are there? There are 7 weeks of counting in preparation between Passover and Shavuot. Almost all of God speaking to Moshe is at Mount Sinai. When we get to the 5th book of Devarim, Deuteronomy, there in the 40th year of the Jewish people in this exile in Galut after the sin of the spies, because they didn't want to leave Minnesota, they wanted to stay there and not come into Israel. Then we see a lot of prophecy between God and Moshe at this tent of meeting inside the Mishkan, where God's divine presence is. But right now we have to remember, where is God speaking to Moshe? At Sinai, the Mount Sinai. And here we're going to start talking about the Jewish family. We're going to start talking about the Jewish family. You may know that there are several commandments in regards to a Jewish family. The Rambam, Maimonides, who in one of his masterworks where he enumerates all the commandments of the Torah, he brings about 7 of the mitzvot, 7 commandments regarding a Jewish family. We're not going to get into it. One, of course, is related to what we're learning here, and that is building a house, bringing children into the world, which is probably the most unique and by far the greatest commandment. It happens to be even the first commandment God told Adam Arishon, right? At the end of Genesis and of the creation, there God tells Adam Arishon, Pru urevu, be fruitful and multiply. Regarding that commandment, God says here to Moshe in verse 2, Daber el b'nei Yisrael lemor, speak to b'nei Yisrael, meaning teach them, and say to them, Isha ki tazria, when a woman becomes pregnant, from the word zera, seed, v'yalda zachar, and she gives birth to a male, v'tama shivat yamim, she's going to be defiled. What does that mean? We'll explain. 7 days. Kimei, like the day of Nidat Divota Titma, just like the days when she has her menstrual period, that according to the Torah, she is considered Tmeya, impure 7 days. What does impure mean? We're going to see what restrictions it will be for a woman. And we'll ask ourselves, wow, she just gave birth, she's impure, what's going on? She did the most fantastic thing. Okay? Doesn't make sense, does it? She deserves a bonus, a gift from Social Security. She died, she will get one, by the way. Bituach Leumi, right? For every birth the person has, the State of Israel supports child growth. And Baruch Hashem. It used to be even much more money families would get for bringing children into the world, but whatever, they lowered the amount. But today, whether you're Israeli and even Arabs in the State of Israel, they get incentives, okay, by Bituach Leumi. What?
Bituach Leumi.
Have you heard of it before, Bituach Leumi?
Yes.
Is there such a system in India?
Yeah, we have insurance.
What is it called?
National insurance.
National insurance. Okay. So we want to know, what is this tuma, this impurity regarding? Let's continue reading verse 3. Uvayom hashmini yimol bisar olato. That's interesting. The Torah now goes to the subject, and on day number 8, he shall circumcise the flesh of his orla. What does orla mean? Orla is the foreskin. We'll talk about it. What is it? Why is it called orla? What is the spiritual significance? Why is the Torah teaching us here about Brit Milah? As we're talking about Brit Milah, are we not? We're talking about Yimol, the mitzvah called Milah. Milah here does not mean word, but it is the action lamo. Where does it appear on the linear page, if you have it, to help out?
On the 8th day, the flesh.
No. You have the linear. What page are you on? What page are you on?
109.
109. So it says Yimol Bisar Olato. Why are we talking about Milah, circumcision here? What is it brought here? What is the connection? Isn't it told to us elsewhere that there's the commandment of circumcision to the son? Okay? So we want to understand that, why it's brought here. By the way, just to tell you, Uvayom hashmini, and on the day of the 8th day, it doesn't matter if the 8th day even is on Shabbat. It doesn't matter if the 8th day is on Yom Tov. Where Shabbat and Yom Tov, we are sanctifying the Shabbat, and we keep ourselves from doing creative, inventive work, what's famously called the 39 milachot, and one of them is drawing blood. And by definition, when circumcision is performed, it's a bloody matter. Of course, the skin is cut. So the Torah, the oral Torah at Sinai that we receive says, Uvayom hashmini, even if it falls on Shabbat, even if it falls on Yom Tov, there's going to be a milah, lamul. Okay, and the word lamul is to circumcise. Lamul. Milah.
It falls on Yom Kippur?
Even if it falls on Yom Kippur, milah. We're going to do a Brit Milah.
Okay. But there won't be any,
a festive meal?
Yeah.
You're right. We're going to delay it till after the fast. That's correct.
So how are they going to make the bracha of the...
very nice. So at a Brit Milah, the ceremony, we, like on many ceremonies, we take a cup of wine. Okay? On many ceremonies, we take a cup of wine. So only someone that's not fasting can drink the wine.
So someone who is
sick, elderly, very sick, that cannot drink. Or it could be the Mecca Bracha, maybe just give a little wine as like an anesthesia to the baby. We dip a diaper. You've seen that before? We put it into the mouth of the baby. Have you seen that before?
Yeah.
With a diaper.
Okay, whatever you want to use. It's just that the diaper was sterile, we're hoping. I seen a few weeks ago, there was a Brit Milah here in Machon, Meir. To one of the famous alumni that studied many, 7-8 years here. He's a good friend of my son in one of the settlements. And he had a Brit Milah here. And the mohel, the circumciser, is an acquaintance of mine, a friend of mine, who is a top orthopedic surgeon living in Beit El, and he does Brit Milah as a hobby, and he doesn't take money for it. And I was on top of, I was a step up above where the Brit Milah was being taken, and that's what I saw. He took he took a gauze pad. He took a gauze pad, rolled it, dipped it into the wine, and put it into the baby, and he stopped crying. Because there's alcohol in the wine, and that helps relax. He doesn't sense the pain so much. Okay?
There was Brit Milah last year in Chagim, in Rosh Hashanah.
There's a Brit Milah every other week
Yeah,
here. People are going to be doing a Brit Milah. People enjoy using the Beit Midrash thing. Nice place.
Can I have a question? Like in this is written that Hashmini, Hayom Shmini, the Hashmini. That's the connective with the, as we talked yesterday?
No.
The same concept?
No.
Like,
Yes. Yes. So we'll address Amos' question. We treated yesterday the philosophical meaning of the number 8.
Yeah.
The number 8. And we said that the inauguration of the tabernacle, the Mishkan, was on day number 8 after 7 days of running through, doing basic sacrifices and offerings. And Moshe himself was like the acting high priest. But on day number 8, Aaron, the older brother of Moshe, Aaron, he was indoctrinated to become the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, and he did the work, and it was on day number 8. And we said yesterday, as opposed to number 7 in Judaism, 7 represents nature, 7 days in a week. Every culture in every continent in the world maintains a 7-day week. Now, in the United Nations on First Avenue in New York, to get them to agree, everyone together on an issue is almost impossible. Am I right or not? You think every nation... So how did they issue the 7-day week where they voted on it? Answer, they didn't vote on it. Rather, Rabbi Yehuda Levi, one of the great authors and scholars of Israel, poets and philosophers of 11th century Spain, Rabbi Yehuda Levi, Judah Levi, who wrote the famous Kuzari. He was a great lover of the land of Israel. He wrote many poems about the land of Israel. So he writes and explains in his book that's one of the given things that we have in all societies that proves that they accepted it because it was godly given. A 7-day week was godly given. What about the metric system? Everyone counts to 10 and then they count again, 11, 12, where it's 10 plus 1, 10 plus... Why is it in every culture? Am I right? In every culture in Europe?
yeah.
In Germany, in India, everywhere, they count the metric system, the 10 system. That too was given by God in the Torah. These are just two unique examples of things that every nation all over the world adopted because...
They don't use it in America.
No, counting the metric system. When I say the metric, I don't talk about meters, or I do talk about meters, I talk about the 10 number. Everyone counts to 10, and then they count again 11, 20, and everyone. Even in America, whether it's feet or meters. That's what I mean. Maybe I should have used a different term, not the metric. I should have used
I don't know.
the decimal system. Maybe it should be the decimal system, perhaps. That would be a better word. Thank you. I stand to be corrected. I'm happy you mentioned
Will it
it.
be the same with the hours, like the 60 minutes?
No, that's something that I...
okay.
It could be also given in the oral Torah. Let's get back. So yes, our question will stand, why here? Teaching us the laws of Tuma and Tara, purity and impurity. Does the Torah talk about Brit Milah? Why here? The subject here in this book, in this parsha, is about the impurity of the Yoledet, the woman giving birth, and how she becomes pure. And many laws regarding that. And, you know, in the next parsha, we get to the laws of leprosy, and he becoming also impure. And we talk about here the life of marriage, which of course its purpose is establishing a family. So why, amidst this, is the Torah introducing Brit Milah? One, we're not going to explain it right now, in a moment, but Amos' question is a good question. Number 8. God apparently chose that day number 8 will be the day for Brit Milah, because the connection between God and Israel, as it's represented in the Brit, in this covenant of circumcision, is an above natural situation. Yes, we are made out of flesh and blood. Yes, we have a Jewish nose, some of us. Some of us have a regular nose. Doesn't make a difference. However, our connection is a metaphysical connection. Okay? It's not a connection based upon physical matters. Our connection is that the soul of Israel, something which you cannot put under a microscope, something that your hands cannot touch, that your nose cannot smell, that's something metaphysical. 8 in Judaism represents the above the physical, above nature. And therefore, the Brit Milah, day number 8, is on, that's purposely done on number 8. I want to read a few more psukim and then share with you some ideas. Regarding the impurity of this woman who gave birth to a male, it says, Ushloshim yom ushloshet yomim, for 33 days, teshev bidmei tahora. First 7 days, she's impure. For what? I'll give you 2 examples in a moment right now, in the end of verse 4. B'chol kodesh lo tiga. I know it says every holy she's not going to touch, but it means in the oral Torah she's not going to eat. What is a holy? Let's say Mr. Listman is celebrating his aliyah, and we have a temple on the Temple Mount, and he wants to bring a thanks offering.